We're Rowville, this is PHCloud, and let's introduce you to Driver App. Hello, I'm Dan, and today I'd like to take you through everything you need to know about the PHCloud Driver App. Designed from the ground up to provide operation teams and drivers seamless communication of job data, safe and compliant walk-around defect checks, and even shift recording functionality. The Driver App is here to help and simplify your workload. So, without any further delay, let's dive straight in. We'll first take a look at what's required to grant a driver access to the app. If we open up the Resources menu and jump into our Drivers section, I'll assume that you've already created the driver in question. For this demo, I'll be using myself, so we'll click on the driver to pop open the Setup and Edit window. Towards the bottom right of the screen, we'll see a setting called PHCloud App Account. And we're given the option to create account. Selecting this option opens the Create Account dialog, and here we can confirm that the email address is correct, along with choosing the applicable account role. Here we are given three choices. Admin will grant the user access to both the main PHCloud system and the driver's app. This is designed for employees that work both in the back office and as a driver. Driver provides access to the driver app only and no access to PHCloud back office. The final option, driver with access, is designed as a customizable role for drivers that require a certain level of access into the back office. This may be for maintenance purposes, such as reviewing the defect checks that have come in, or the diary and scheduling side. By default, this role is completely locked down, so it will provide access to the driver app only. However, the access can be tweaked by heading over to the settings area and taking a look at the roles menu. Once we've selected the applicable role, we can decide if we wish to send the driver an invite to set up their password. Ticking this box will result in the driver receiving an immediate email asking them to create a password for their new account. Alternatively, you can leave this unticked, and after clicking Create, navigate to the User section in Settings and reset the driver's password as follows. And that's your driver now all set up and ready to begin. So, what's next? Direct your driver to download our app on their mobile device. Apple iPhone or iPad users would simply head into the App Store, and Android users would go into the Google Play Store. Search for Rowville Driver App in the main search bar and download our app to the phone or tablet. The driver can now use their email address and password to log into their account. During the first login, it's crucial that the driver grants permission for notifications to ensure that they are alerted when receiving a new job or updates to existing jobs. They will also be asked if they wish to use their device's biometrics, if supported, to allow them to use their fingerprint or retinal scan to log in. If not, they can simply set up a 6-digit PIN number, and that will be used to access the app moving forward. And that's it. They're ready to receive their first job. So let's move on to managing jobs, events and updates from PHCloud. In the PHCloud back office, we head over to the Overview tab in the main Diary section. Here we can see a list of movements and events on the selected time period. We're currently just looking at work on the 15th of October, but if I wanted to send jobs over a larger time frame, I can extend this to a full week or month as required. We can see a list of jobs below that have already been allocated to a driver and vehicle. The second to last column on screen shows us the status of jobs in relation to the driver app. The traffic light system displays a red light for jobs that have been assigned to a driver but not yet sent. This stage allows for allocations to be made and schedules to be adjusted before anything is sent across. Once we send a job to a driver, it then changes to amber, and once the driver acknowledges receipt of a job, it moves to green. When preparing for the coming day or week, this traffic light system provides a very clear and quick check to ensure that drivers have received and acknowledged their duty details. To forward a job or a number of jobs onto drivers, we first need to select what we're sending. We can do this one by ticking individual jobs on the far left-hand side of the screen. Alternatively, if we want to send across all jobs within the selected period, we can click on Select and choose Assign Driver to auto-tick all assigned jobs within the time frame open in the diary. Once selected, we can go to Bulk Actions and click Send Jobs to Drivers. Our sent traffic lights all turn to amber, and we now have a new job notification on our mobile device. We can click on the notification to jump straight into the jobs to review. I'm going to quickly acknowledge this job to show you the different indicators in the following screens. Instead of clicking on the notification, if we were instead to open the app directly to the dashboard, we can first see a preview of our next upcoming job or jobs. This preview gives us a few key details such as the starting location and time, first pickup place and time, total distance, number of stops, and estimated finish time and location. Finally, we have a quick access button to jump directly into that job if we choose. If we look to the main menu at the bottom of the screen, we can see icons for the interactive diary, walkaround defect checks, driver profile, and settings. The interactive diary icon will show a number in a red bubble representing the number of new jobs a driver has been sent that they have not yet acknowledged. These represent immediate actions that are required. If we select the Diary tab, you're now presented with an interactive weekly calendar view. As you can see, we're able to swipe left or right to view previous or future weeks. Within each day, we can see a red, green, or blue icon displaying the number of job or events on that day. Green represents acknowledged jobs. Red are jobs that have not yet been responded to, and blue are events that can represent all manner of different things, from annual leave and rest days to yard work or other duties. How events are used will be up to the individual company policy. Clicking on an individual day will display the allocated jobs and events below. If we select the unconfirmed job, and once again acknowledge that we've received and checked the job, we can then see that this has now turned green. And over in the overview screen in the back office diary, we can see that the traffic light system updates to green simultaneously. So, let's take a look at what information is shared within the app. Clicking on a job, we're presented with the initial Info tab. This provides information on the number of passengers, the vehicle type that's been requested, and the allocated vehicle registration. If selected on the booking, we'll also see the luggage information. Beneath the top section, we can see the category and booking description. Finally, towards the bottom of this screen, we can see the customer for the booking, along with the lead contact if entered. Displaying the customer's contact number is an optional setting and can be found in the company profile section of the main application settings. The Points tab gives us our digital work ticket. At the top of the screen, we can see how many legs are involved in this job and use the next and previous buttons to switch between. The View Points option plots our pickup and drop-off locations into the Google Maps app on the device. This feature is for the purpose of viewing the locations in more detail using tools such as satellite and street view. Back office users can plot the exact pickup or drop-off locations using our drag and drop point feature when creating a booking or quote, providing drivers with accurate point locations for potentially hard to find places. This feature is not intended to be used for routing or satellite navigation purposes. Whilst PHCloud's back office application uses a dedicated PSV commercial mapping and routing solution, Google Maps does not have dedicated PSV support, and following the suggested routes could lead to the vehicle being driven down unsuitable roads or via low bridges. Below the View Points button, we can now see our digital work ticket. If a start point or finish point has been set, these will be shown in a green or red shaded area at the beginning and end of the job. We can then see the position and pickup time for the first pickup, and so on and so forth for all the points on the job. Each box shows the arrival and departure time at the point, the pickup point name, and the full address. If there are any driver relevant notes on the job, then a dedicated notes section will be shown to provide this information to the driver. Finally, if the booking has had any documents attached that have been set to viewable by the driver, these will show within the Docs section. These are extremely useful for things like tour packs, rail replacement schedules, or maps. Clicking the document will allow the driver to view it within the app. Now let's take a look at the built-in walkaround defect check functionality. First, let's take a look at how we configure the walkaround defect check templates in PHCloud. On the left, you'll find our walkaround menu. And if we head into templates, we'll see any that you currently have set up. By default, the system comes with a single DVSA approved template that we've called Executive Coach. Opening up this template, you'll see a series of questions that will be presented to the driver in the order that they are displayed. From here, we can click Edit to alter the current question, drag and drop to reorder, or delete to permanently remove. Clicking Add Check in the top right corner opens the new question box and allows us to add a brand new one to the current list. At the top of the screen, we have a clone button that will allow us to create a new set of template questions based off of the current list, ready for you to edit and amend as needed. Alternatively, if we move back to the main template screen, we can add a brand new template from scratch. Finally, once we've set our templates up, we can head into Resources and Vehicles, where we will find the option to assign the appropriate template against that vehicle. Now, moving back over to our app. The driver can now navigate to the walk-around check menu at the bottom of the screen. This allows the driver to see an overview of the checks that they have carried out previously, either today or prior. By selecting New in the top right-hand corner, the driver is then presented with a list of active vehicles from PHCloud. If a vehicle has been made inactive due to being removed from the fleet or VOR, it won't show as an option to the driver. Once a selection has been made, we are asked to confirm the vehicle's mileage, and then the app will take the driver through a series of questions as set up in the applicable template. We can now complete the relevant checks around the vehicle, hitting pass as appropriate. If you make a mistake, we can hit previous to jump to the last question, or restart if we wish to begin the whole check again. If we come across a defect during our check, we can select the defect option, and we're now presented with the choice of making a note to describe the defect, taking some images or photographs, or a combination of the two. We can take up to 4 photographs per defect if needed. Once complete, we can hit continue and carry on with the remainder of the check. Once we get to the end, we're presented with a summary of our answers so that the driver can check through and ensure they have correctly recorded everything that they intended. If they need to report anything that does not class as a defect but may simply be advisory, they can do so using the Notes section on the summary screen. Once happy, the driver can select Submit, and the check is sent immediately across to PHCloud. If the mobile device is in an area of no signal, the check will be stored on the device until signal is restored and then transmitted at that time. Back now in PHCloud, the relevant users set up to receive active defect check notifications will have all received an email alert when a check comes in with a reported defect. This option can be configured in the main settings screen by heading into the Users section and ticking the Receive Defect Check notification box in the individual user setup area. Moving back into the walk-around menu, we can now head into the Checks area where we can see all of the defect checks that have been submitted. Across the top, we're able to filter the view to look at checks from a specific period, ones that are in a certain status, and we can use a search box to return specific check references or filter by vehicle registration. Clicking on a check opens up the full report. Here we can see all of the answered questions. If a defect is present, it's shown in red, and a full audit history of any notes from the driver or back office staff are shown on the right hand side. As part of the DVSA's requirements to ensure sufficient time is allocated by a driver to checks, we show the elapsed time taken by the driver between questions, along with the orientation of their device. This allows compliance staff to ensure that an adequate amount of time is being taken for a walk-around check. Clicking on the active defect allows us to view further details, such as submitted notes or images by the driver. These can be expanded and reviewed in detail as appropriate. At the bottom of this screen is an area for recording the relevant follow-up information DVSA requires when fixing or addressing a defect. We can add a note and then save this against the defect either as a full fix to clear or as a temporary update stating that the defect has been reviewed and cleared to continue running until such a date that it can be correctly addressed, such as the next inspection. Saving as serviceable places the defect into a temporary status, and the check remains as outstanding with defects. Once correctly addressed, the defect can then be saved as cleared and the check completed and signed off by the relevant member of staff. We can also print off individual check reports from this screen or head into the main global reports and the dedicated walkaround check section. We can here print off batches of defect checks for entire periods, specific vehicle registrations, or checks of a certain status, such as completed but previously with defects. We also have a smart compliance summary report that auto matches checks against scheduled jobs in your diary. These ensure that all jobs completed have a correctly matching check to the driver and vehicle allocated, and allows the operator to be proactive in identifying issues with non-compliance. We can now move on to the final feature of our driver app, designed to allow drivers and operators to easily record time worked in the same way as old-fashioned clocking in machines. We call it OnShift. Back in the app, we can head to the driver profile menu, and here we'll find the OnShift functionality. When a driver arrives at the depot or coach and is ready to clock on, they can simply click Start Shift to begin a shift within the app. A clear banner is placed at the top during an active shift as a reminder for the driver to end their shift once completed. Depending on individual company policy, you may be required to record break durations as well as working hours. In this case, you can pause the shift at any time and then resume as needed. At the end of your shift, simply hit End Shift to complete. Heading into the main calendar, drivers are now able to look back at previous days and weeks to see their daily working hours for that time period. If we head over to PHCloud and initially take a look at the overview screen in the diary, we can see a dedicated traffic light system in relation to the OnShift function. This gives operations staff an instant at-a-glance overview of the drivers that have arrived and started their shift, and more importantly, any that may be running late. Active shifts are shown in green, drivers on a break are shown in amber, and red confirms the driver is not on shift at all. If we move across to resources and then drivers and click into a driver that we want to review in detail, we can select the schedule tab at the top left and see a full summary of that driver's allocated events in blue and recorded shifts in green. Clicking on a shift pops open the shift summary on the right and allows the operations staff or management to confirm the location of the driver when they clocked on or clocked off. This data is only stored at the time of signing on and signing off. Any mistakes made by the driver, such as forgetting to clock off at the correct time, can be manually adjusted in PHCloud and saved as required. In Global Reports, you will find a dedicated shift summary report for the OnShift feature, allowing you to see the total hours worked in different reference periods for all drivers, along with the ability to filter as required on the right-hand side of the report. And that concludes our in-depth look at our driver application. We hope you found this video useful, and if you have any feedback on the app, please do let us know as we continue to improve the product for operators and drivers alike.